music. Today I want to talk about something that is interesting to me. Recently I opened up a reverb shop, and on that reverb shop I listed a lot of items that moved. I'm very surprised on how quickly everything sold on my shop. But when I first set it up, I put on a listing for this pedal right here. This is the Marshall Bluesbreaker Mark I, made in England. I've had this pedal here for quite a while. Never really used it very much, never really thought about it until the internet started blowing up about it a couple of years ago. And so I gave it a plug in and found out that this is actually probably one of the finest overdrives out there that I've played on the market. It has what they call a transparency to it, so a transparent overdrive. So in other words, what it does is it boosts whatever the sound of your amp that or whatever rig you're playing through. It enhances it. It doesn't really color it a great deal. What it does is it just gives a very noticeable lift to the overall tone. And this one, you get a lot of pedals. You buy, certainly, as you know, I've been through a lot of pedals. You go through a lot of pedals, and a lot of them live up to what they say that they do. A lot of them don't. Let's just be frank. So as a way of drawing eyes to my reverb shop, I took my Marshall Bluesbreaker, took some photographs, put it up, and set it at a price that I thought was outrageously high. I looked at the listing in Reverb they give you the average amounts of what the pedal or the guitar or whatever it is you're interested in goes through, the typical transitional period of about a year that you go through ups and downs in terms of price, ups and downs. And they had an average price on one of these at being around $450. So I said, well, let me double that, or sort of almost double that, put it at $800, and certainly nobody would be interested in that, but it will draw eyes to my reverb shop, which is good for me because it helps put eyes on it. It gets people interested in the other stuff that I have listed at a realistic price. So at the time I put this in my reverb shop, there was only one other Mark I Marshall Bluesbreaker that was listed, and that guy had it new in a box. It had its original box. It was just as good as new. I don't have the box on mine, but it is good as new because I keep it in studio environment always. And that was it. So you had my listing at $800, and you had his listing at about $1,100. The gentleman who had his listed at $1,100, I don't know what his story is. I don't know what it is exactly that is going through his mind. But after that, here's an interesting thing. I began to see a surge of listings of Mark I Marshall Bluesbreakers. Now, the reason I say Mark I, some of you are asking, it was this Mark I stuff. This was the original version. This one is the one that John Mayer uses in his rig. A couple other cats use it as well. The Mark II was made not in England, but it was made in Korea. Same everything, but again, this one's got the mojo on it. So you want to get that Mark I, the made in England version, the very first Bluesbreaker, and then there's a Bluesbreaker 2, and we don't even want to talk about that, not even worth talking about. But in any case, a surge of new listings for Bluesbreakers, surprisingly at a price of $800. maybe I think, you know, $7.99. We're saying $800 on some of those guys. One of them that he said it was a relic, you know, a relic Bluesbreaker. That thing had been through hell and back, had rust all over it, and the guy, he wanted $600 for that. And the listing's gone. I don't know if it's sold or not, but yeah. So I'm of the opinion that me as a goof putting this up at 800 on my Reverb site kind of created a little bit of a tidal wave. There are now 7 listings for Marshall Bluesbreakers that, you know, at any given time you might find 1 or 2. I guess everybody feels that this is the moment. You know, right now on Reverb, with used goods, because of the shutdown, because of the lockdowns, you know, and the disease that shall not be named, there was a dearth of orders that got backlogged on a lot of stuff. So a lot of people that were sellers, like myself, found themselves in a very advantageous market because there was more buyers than there were sellers. There was more buyers than there was product out there. And so I think people see this as an opportunity to try to do a clone kind of thing regarding these Bluesbreakers. Do I think that that's going to work? You know, if you had told me several years ago that a clone would be going for $5,000, I'd have laughed at it. A lot of clones out there. There's a lot of clones out there. And there's a lot of clones of this Marshall Bluesbreaker. JHS Pedals makes a fantastic one. But it's not this. And you have to ask yourself, can I live with having something that's close enough to it, you know, without spending the $800, maybe spend $150? I think that's what the JHS pedal's going for, their Bluesbreaker clone. So you really have to ask yourself that question. Now, I think it's wild. I think it's absolutely crazy that, you know, by me putting this up at $800, somehow that set a market. So, you know, you can check it out yourself on Reverb if you're curious. But yeah, so I do believe that I set the market on this pedal, and the law of diminishing returns to me is it's worth it at the $250 I paid. The $800 that people are asking for right now, I would probably do a pass on it myself, frankly. But it does do as advertised, and I haven't heard anything that does anything quite like this. This actually, you know, with single coils, you know, I use it with humbuckers, but also use it with single coils on my telly, and it really shines with single coil pickups. I have to say, it really does something, which makes sense, you know, John Mayer being a single coil pickup kind of guy. So in any case, yeah, I think I set the market on this pedal, and that's crazy to me. You know, I really think that the used market right now in general is insane. You know, I think it really is a seller's market, and I do believe that eventually this probably will move at my price. Yeah, I would miss it. Would I $800 worth of miss it? No. I mean, if you think about that, $800, that's the cost of buying this Epiphone 59. This is $800. So you're telling me that this Marshall pedal right now is the equivalent cost of this Epiphone. And now we're getting into, you know, what I call crazy town prices. So yeah, I think it's crazy town prices. You know, when you look at this and you can say to yourself, this Marshall Bluesbreaker pedal, which back in the early 90s when it came out, nobody wanted. Nobody wanted it. It's not like the Klon, from day one, the clones were in really, Joe Perry's rig. Gosh, right now it escapes me the list of people who were using clones from their inception. This one was kind of broke stepchild. Nobody really wanted it until Mayer and a couple other cats started using it and realizing that it was a fantastic overdrive pedal. Any case, so that's it for today. I will keep this up on Reverb. If somebody again wants to pay that price for it, fantastic. They'll enjoy it as much as I had. But to set a market like that, I think the point of this video really is just to talk about the used market as a whole. The amount of inflation that we're seeing in that market because of the lockdowns that cut off a lot of supply chains. Supply chains for people like Guitar Center weren't great, going into this due to their financial problems. So you had this perfect storm where people were stuck at home. You had in the States some assistance checks that went out and people had money to burn. So you saw the used market just shoot up. And I think this at $800 is just a symptom of that market. Because, it's a great pedal. It's up to you whether or not you think it's $800 worth of good. Or in the case of the higher tier, there's actually two now that are going for $1,100. So you got a price range between $800 to about $1,100 on these, and that is insane. Yeah, the price inflation in the used market is really the takeaway from this video today. It is insane. The market is insane. This is just a symptom of that market. I myself am a seller in this market. I'm not really a buyer. I would say that this is a time probably to move your used gear. This is probably that moment. If you've been holding on to something and saying, hey, I'm going to sell this when the time is right, this is the time. So yeah, if you're a seller, hey, maybe it's time to make that sell. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for taking the time to join this channel. We have a lot of cool stuff like this every week, as you know. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Every subscription really helps. Until I get to 1,000 subscriptions, I can't do live streams. Also, every video on this channel at this point is basically free. I'm not making zero in. As a matter of fact, it costs me money in order to produce these. So I would like to make my next goal to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Now, I had more than that watched the last video. And if every one of the people who had watched the last video had subscribed, I'd be well over that point right now. So I'm just saying, if you like this stuff and you like this channel, subscribe. Help me out. Help this channel grow. And until the next show, you guys take care and be safe. Bye-bye.